The Las Vegas Raiders are cleaning house. General manager Dave Ziegler out. Head coach Josh McDaniels out. Offensive court. Basically, if you worked for the Raiders yesterday, you probably don't work for the Raiders today. Your boy Q from Locked On Raiders joins me now. He still works for us and is always working diligently to bring us everything on this Raiders team, which right now, Q, is a show befitting Vegas entertainment. How did they get to this place at this moment?
Well, that's a good question, man. And I was wondering, as the losses continue to stack, and especially when it came to embarrassing losses, the Chicago Bears loss was one that I thought was unacceptable. You lose to a Division II quarterback, undrafted free agent. Not that I want to sound like he's not worthy of being in the league. Clearly he is, but you should have an advantage in that game. And to get ran out of Soldier Field, that was embarrassing. Monday Night Football, Lions are a really good team, but for one guy in Jahmyr Gibbs to have more yards from scrimmage than you have as an offense as a whole is ridiculous, especially when you have guys like Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and many others. It just seemed like there was a big disconnect, and I kept wondering how long is Mark Davis going to allow this to go and allow himself and the organization to be embarrassed before he says, okay, enough is enough. I honestly thought there's about a 3-year window that the staff, Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler had. But again, with all those embarrassing losses, that kind of changes plans pretty quickly.
And so he got a 6-year contract to start with. So what is the bigger mistake, to start off with a contract of that size, especially given his track record, or to misjudge everything that's gone on the last 2 years, some of the big contracts they've handed out, the big trades that they've tried to swing, and not really understanding where this team was? What do you think is the bigger mistake that this organization made?
Well, I mean, it's tough, man. I feel like he had to give out that big contract because the Raiders have not been a stable organization as far as head coaches go. So it's hard to get a guy that you feel like could be a top-notch head coach or coordinator or whatever if you don't give him job security. So we knew that John Gruden before that had a 10-year deal. He was going to be coaching. If those emails had never came out, he'd still be coaching right now. But obviously it did. So, you're going to bring in the next guy. Well, you want someone who you feel like could take that team to the next level. All right, I'm going to go get Josh McDaniels because, well, everyone wanted Josh. And I know that it didn't work out in Indy. It clearly didn't work out in Denver. But, okay, he's still a really good offensive play caller. And as you know, teams are always looking for hotshot offensive minds. And so Josh McDaniels has always been considered that. So for him to leave the comfort home of New England and come to the West Coast and come to Vegas and be with the Raiders, who have had turnover after turnover, you've got to have some security. So he gave him the security. So it probably was a mistake. Now that you look back at it a couple of years later, he's still got 4 years left on his deal, but it's the mistake that I feel like had to be made. As far as the trades and everything that were made and the mismanaging of money and giving out deals to guys like Chandler Jones and bringing in guys like Jimmy G and, the list goes on and on. That was Mark Davis allowing the football guys to be the football guys because he said he's not that. He knows what he knows and he knows what he doesn't know. And so I guess there's another mistake on his part by trusting the guys with his organization to lead him in the right direction, and they just weren't ready for the job.
There is an understanding that general managers tend to have these longer runways, Q, because they have to work on these bigger timelines. Coaches tend to want to win right now, this minute. And so to see Dave Ziegler gone in all of this, I think to me was the most surprising part. I was not surprised that they moved on from Josh McDaniels. Why do you think Ziegler was the one that also got wrapped up in all of this? Was it just that Josh McDaniels was his guy?
I think because they were a package deal. They came in together, and so I think that they left together. But I was surprised, too. When I first got the notification, I thought Dave Ziegler would probably be safe just because, again, everything you rolled out about the GM. And every time I talked to him, he sounded like he had that calm, cool, collective voice, and he really had a good idea and a good plan of what he was looking for and what the direction the team was going moving forward. And clearly Mark Davis didn't see the same, they didn't share the same ideas. And, I guess kudos to Mark Davis because everything that we mentioned a little while ago about all the mismanagement of money and contracts, this, that, and the other, that falls on Dave Ziegler. So I guess that, all the issues that McDaniels had, the issues that Ziegler had are just as bad. So, if you're going to do it, get rid of both. Now Antonio Pierce is the interim head coach. We just talked to him a little while ago. He's pretty fired up and excited for the opportunity. And Champ Kelly, a guy who's been well respected around the league, is the interim GM, and he's the same. He's fired up and excited. So we'll see what goes from here. They've got 9 games to prove their worth to see if they can get that interim tag removed.
Quickly, give me one name or two names of guys that you think make sense in an organization that now I think has to be honest with itself and say, we have to rebuild this thing.
Yeah, I think it's somebody that shares the same kind of, I guess, personality or traits as almost a Rich Bisaccia, right? And I'm not going to say that Rich Bisaccia is the guy, but the guy that can really lead men. They need a guy that is a leader of men. I don't really have a name for you right now. I know there's some big names out there like Harbaugh and this, that, and the other. I get that, but they need someone who can tap into the culture of the team, get those guys to run through a wall, similar to what Dan Campbell's doing in Detroit with the Lens. And I'm not saying it has to be a player, but Antonio Pierce is a former player, and I'll tell you, he won the press conference earlier on Wednesday. So shout out to him. We'll see what he can do.